Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 3 of Changemakers on the Be the Change Podcast Network. We are here Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, depending on what coast. I guess it really doesn't matter. If you're here, you know what time it is. Excellent. We have a great guest today on Changemakers. We're hoping for Kash to jump on as well, but we are excited to have Charisse Fontes. It's going to be a great episode talking about the concept of humanity and kindness and having a mission-driven purpose in order to create change in the world around us and to get rid of all the isms, which I know a lot of you guys would love to hear. So start putting in the comments where you guys are from. Start sharing this out there. Again, this is one of our more apolitical, non-political shows. So this one's safe to share. You're not going to get in any trouble at work or with your friends. This one's just cool. We get to bring on people that are creating change in the world around them. So share it out there, and we're going to have a great time. We got Tina from Indiana. Again, go ahead and start putting it in the box where you are coming in from and share it out at the same time. We'll be getting started in just about 1 minute with Changemakers here on the Be the Change Network. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go and get started with Changemakers. Thank you guys for joining. We got a lot of people already here, and keep sharing it so we can get the party started. We got New Hampshire in the house, North Carolina in the house, Indiana, Massachusetts, Southern Illinois, New York, North Carolina, Crown Point. Nikki, I like that you made it fancy. We all know that you're just from a small town in Indiana, Chicagoland, Seattle, Washington. Welcome, Patriots in the house as well, all the way from Seattle by way of Alabama. Let's go ahead and get started with Changemakers. Wrong countdown. There. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anthony Michael Russo from #BeTheChange, and of course our show called Changemakers. This one's cool. It's a little bit of a diversion. It's a little bit of a change up from some of the typical shows that we do a little bit sometimes that sway a little bit more political. This is finding people that are actually creating change in the community around them and are just people that are going to inspire you to create that same change as well. A lot of times people lately have told us we need to add more of the positivity that was the original concept of Be the Change, that we need to keep doing that. This is that show. And this one's actually going to get into some questions and issues on how you can actually create change. The person that we have coming on, the speaker that we have, will talk about all the isms. And I know a lot of us in this group and our current demographic of viewers are trying to find a way to, prove to their friends and family that the isms are not who we are about. So I think this is going to be a very interesting show talking about that. I'm going to go ahead, without further ado, go ahead and introduce our guest on this one. We've, of course, had Daryl Davis in the past. We had Kevin last week, the ex-police officer. And this week, we've got Charisse Fontes. She's the founder of Culture Circle, where she creates healthy and inclusive workplace cultures. Her focus is humanity in the workplace, which is anchored by her mission-driven project called Humanity Power, which she's going to tell you about that and a little bit about herself. So, ladies and gentlemen, nice round of applause for Charisse Fontes. What's going on, Charisse?
Hey, guys. Hi. How's it going? Super excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. I love your Humanity Power shirt. You've got a great background and a great story. I'm going to go ahead and throw up a little bit of our information on the bottom. Of course, this is a podcast, so continue to watch. And if you'd like to support our show, we do have a Patreon. Everything that we do is out of pocket, so we'd love any help that you can give us to cover those costs. But we're very excited to learn a little bit more about you, Charisse. Tell us about your amazing life.
Man, okay, so where do I start? I am originally from the beautiful Bay Area, California, born and raised. I am a mother of 5 little humans. They range from the age of 16 to my youngest is a year and a half. My husband and I are very big fans of smoking barbecue. So we also do this thing called Marley and Bros, where we just smoke barbecue on occasion for the community, for the environment, for the people around us. And let's see. I also run a consultancy called Culture Circle. You mentioned that earlier, where I help startups specifically with creating a healthy and inclusive workplace culture. So I touch on things like how strong are your values and how you treat people in the workplace. I focus a lot on humanity and bringing that into leadership and some of the processes and tools that companies use. And then I leverage the foundation of inclusion. And so I'm also, in addition to the culture work I do, by night, I am a birth doula. So I help women birth their babies. I love the balance between working in the workplace and then heading off to a birth, which is amazing. I get to joke, I work with the living and the dead, and it just really makes my my work a lot better. I'm also a self-taught anthropologist. I study cultures, religions, and tribes. One of the first cultures I studied when I started my consultancy was the Maori tribe in New Zealand, and learning more about the Haka and different cultures that way. Spent some time in Bali with a traditional Balinese family, learned a lot about the different separations of the island. And so really love humanity, really love talking about culture or birth, and super excited to talk to you and your people tonight.
She's making me tired, Marianne said.
Yeah.
So we met, Charisse and I meet a lot of people on LinkedIn, and we try to figure out where we connect, where our messages align. And a lot of times with Be the Change, we find different people. Charisse and I, we started talking. She was talking, I think we might have started out with her projects with Humanity Power and what she did, because that was kind of the intro of it. And then she started going into like all these cool backgrounds. And I told her, and a lot of you guys out there know about Mama Russo, Shamama, the shaman. And we talked about just this higher vibration, and the spiritual world does not have to be political. The spiritual world is to raise up this positivity. And before we get really into what you're doing, I want you to talk about the friend that asked you that question recently of, go. Let's start with, since we do have a more conservative audience, I want to start with this question.
Okay, so you guys will get more of the backstory, but I do, this project is a social enterprise called Humanity Power, and it is the vision statement to end the isms that plague our humanity. So we have sexism, racism, ableism, classism, colorism, and so Humanity Power focuses on that unity within our humanity to end the isms. And my friend was talking to a friend in New York. I don't know the person, and he asked if they dropped me, or if I was dropped or put into a Trump rally, would I still be able to make like effective change? And I will tell you that I'm still trying to understand that question. Like the purpose of what the question, like what's the point? What is he trying to allude to? I don't really know. I don't know this person, but I thought that question was interesting. And as I'm talking to you guys now, it doesn't bother me. I go where the humans go. I go where the humanity is. It's almost like asking me, oh, this woman that's about to give birth is a Trump supporter. Will you help her birth her baby? Absolutely. Hey,
humanity bake her wedding cake. Who knows? Like, it's such I think it's a very poignant question that he asked, because I think people just assume these things, that we are so different, that if you have one ideology, you don't care about certain people. If you have another ideology, you don't care about the other people. And it's not like that. There's a lot of good people. So I think it's interesting that they asked that question. You didn't know how to answer, because you're like, I'm going to create positivity no matter who it is. It's insinuating that that Trump rally, and not all of our viewers are Trump voters, but a lot of them are conservative, and they're all great people. That's what we've all learned. So I think that's interesting. So I said, well, guess what, Charisse, you're about to be dumped into a Trump rally right now, almost. So this is your audience that literally perfectly fits that concept. So now we'll backtrack and tell us all about Humanity Power, and I'll ask questions as we go. And if I see any questions on the side, I'll save those for later if we have time.
Okay, awesome. I'm super excited to talk about this. So Right after George Floyd got killed, I got a lot of different calls from people that I'd worked with in the past asking me to come in and talk about, what was going on in the world and how to frame, getting calls from CEOs. How do I answer this question? How do I do this? There was just a lot of conversations happening within those first 3 weeks. And I showed up and I held space for their people. I answered some very tough questions. I came from the method of, and I am very upfront about this, I don't believe racism is a black and white issue. It's a humanity issue. And those were some of the approaches that I took with the conversations. And then there was this one CEO, and he says, Charisse, my daughter thinks I'm racist. What do I do? His daughter's about 24. I think he might be, mid 50s, I don't know what his age was, but his daughter was 24 years old. And he's like, what do I do? And I said, well, racism is the belief that one ethnicity is inferior or superior to another. If you believe that, that's racism. If you don't believe that, that's not racism. Very simple. And he kind of took that back. And a few days later, he reached out to me and was like, I've been having conversations with my daughter. I didn't know what racism was until you explained it to me. And I was like, okay, this is a problem because you now have a bunch of people that are like, we're going to fight this thing, but you don't know what this thing actually means. So I decided to take a self journey. I'm very deep into meditation, very reflective. And so one Saturday morning, sitting right here in this space, and you can't see the space, but it's like very zenned out, tons of plants, very colorful. And I was like, okay, Charisse, today you're going to be racist. Go. And I didn't know where to start. I'm like, do I start with my husband? Do I start with my friend? Like, do I start with how do I start this? So I started asking the question, how do you become a racist? And so I started asking people around me, and their answers were like, you're taught or you're raised or, it's an experience, different things like that. But it didn't give me it didn't satisfy me. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure this out. So I put together this workshop that I'm actually running next week. It's my second time running this, called How to Become a Racist. And it's funny because I got some feedback on the name and someone's like, you should change the name. And I'm like, if the name makes you uncomfortable, be prepared for the conversation.
You might be a racist. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't say that, but I was like, look, like the name is the least thing that you should worry about. Now, mind you, I focus a lot on the isms, but racism is one of those tricky ones. So
can you imagine if I had the same workshop with the same title?
I don't know. I think the title's fine regardless.
Oh, no, I think the title's brilliant. I'm just saying it would be a little bit. I feel like the set again. Everything it's called a come from. Where do you come from on the topics? Like the come from. If I'm like, hey guys, my name's Anthony Russo, white 38-year-old male. Come join my webinar on how to become a racist. Like it just has a different meaning, and that's why the come from is so important, which is why it makes it important. Sorry, totally interrupted you. I apologize.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So I put this workshop together, and it's a 3-part series, and I did it on Wednesdays from like 5 to 7:30. It's a half an hour, and I talk about the genesis of racism. I talk about a little bit about biases and stereotypes, and then I bring in the concept of how we solve racism. And what I did was I created a timeline from birth to racism, because I've birthed many babies, and none of them have been like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So birth to racism. And I did a timeline, and I plugged in key components that lead to this journey or lifestyle of racism. And then I talk about high vibration. I said racism is a low vibrational frequency. It comes from hate, apathy, a lot of ego. Like it's a very low vibrational thing. When you think about it, it's not something that makes you feel positive. Even the word itself is just like, ugh, doesn't feel good. So how do you counteract? You use a high vibrational frequency. So you use the high vibe of your humanity to solve racism. That's love, kindness, respect, and it does counteract. So, and I've seen this firsthand. I've broken bread with people that were racist towards me, and now they're just like, I love you. And so I've seen it. It's not a hard problem. It's a heart problem. So I took that workshop, and people were like, oh my gosh, this is a great concept. How can we share it out? And I was like, I don't know. I was on this journey with you, so I didn't have any ideas. And then I was in the same room. This is like a magical space. So I was in the same room, and I was like, okay, So there's white power and there's black power, and I understand the concepts of both. I'm not comfortable with either. And I said, what about humanity power? What about that? And I'm like, I talk about humanity so much. It is literally the stuff that I have built my career around when I was in HR or when I was in, just as an admin. And so I was like, okay, humanity power. Then my husband mentioned that the word unity is in humanity. And I said, I'm doing it. And so I ran with the concept of humanity power. And
showing the shirt. Yeah, I see the unity. I think, I was like,
Yes, I'm on the wrong side. There we go. Unity. So this specific style is called Respect the Rainbow. I have 4 styles. One is amplified orange, and the unity is lit up in orange. I have a truthful teal, and then the unity is lit up in teal. And I just have a classic white on black humanity power shirt. And so I talked to one of my good friends about humanity power as soon as I came up with the idea. And he's an ex-ball player. He does from tackle to tech. He's in the tech space. And he was very skeptical of the concept. And then he hit me with, so how are you going to do it? And I was like, I don't know. I don't really know how I'm going to do this, but I feel really drawn to this understanding that if we use our high vibration, we can end the isms, not just racism, but all of the isms. And so about 3 weeks from that conversation, I came up with ways to actually use and educate on not only the isms, but our high vibration. And so the concept, again, of humanity power is really powerful because our humanity doesn't know labels. Our humanity just knows whether it's high vibe or low vibe, and we can choose on a daily basis. We can choose which vibration we're going to use. And I will add this note, and my dad is on Facebook, so hopefully if he sees this, Dad, I love you. This is all in light and love. But my dad is very political, very religious. He can be a little aggressive with conversation. And I shared the message of humanity power with him. He's like, I'll wear the shirt. And the people that I would be super nervous with leaving in the same room as my dad without context or preface or boundaries, they're like, I'll wear the shirt. So if I can get, 2 people from opposite sides to say, I'll wear this message that represents the unity in our humanity to end these isms, I feel like humanity power is creating that change that we need to see as a humanity and as a world.
That's funny. So it's funny you say about the shirts. So with the Be the Change shirts, when I started Be the Change, my conservative friends were like, "Bro, I'll support you. I dig it, but I'm conservative." I'm like, "Why does Be the Change have to be a liberal message? It's not." And the same, you look at a humanity power, and based on you saying ultra Christian, I'm assuming your father is conservative, but I'm not sure. He might just whatever. I'm not even gonna say it. Don't know. But regardless, we pigeonhole the philosophy of creating change, positivity towards all races and humanity. We pigeonhole it as a liberal ideal, and it's not. It's a human ideal. I always used to refer to my friends like, "Oh, they're good people." Good. It's I used to love that phrase. Oh, you got to meet Steve. He's good people. You got to meet Karen. She's good people. Well, most people don't say that about Karens anymore, apparently. But regardless, but it's that whole philosophy of we have somehow made it proprietary to one side and not the other, and it's such a fascinating thing when this massive expanse of humanity, and that's why I love the group of people to watch. And I kind of told you about that. Our followers are predominantly conservative that also want desperately to help the world around them and to desperately create change. And I could tell by some of the comments that they're loving kind of your whole concept and your everything about you. So, so the real quick question to interject about the shirts, because I know you mentioned them. Is that available on humanitypower.co, the site that I have put up right now?
Yes, absolutely. So that's one way you can help support ending the isms is wearing the message. And so I have on the site not only the shirts, but also the steps that you can take to be a part of this momentous moment of creating positive change. And so I think the first step is to buy the shirt, and then donate to the message. Like, I do a lot of different things, and this is the part that the action based. So I have this thing called Third Thursdays. I started this last year when so I had a home birth with my last baby, and my neighbor across the street is a cordon bleu chef, and she brought me so much food after we had the baby, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like, I love this. And I just love the feeling of having something warm. And after I came out of my postpartum, I was like, I want to start to do this for our community, for our neighborhood. And so what I did was, on the third Thursday, because that was the week that I got paid the most. So like, after the, rent came out, the time that I got paid fell on that third Thursday. I would go to Costco. I would buy a bunch of chickens and rolls and vegetables, and I'd package it up, post on Nextdoor. Whoever wanted a meal could sign up, and I would deliver these meals every third Thursday. And I did this for about 6 months, took a break when COVID happened, and then I've started that back up. And the responses around third Thursdays is this, and this is something I'm noticing in the ecosystem of companies focusing on anti-racism in the workplace, and, trying to keep their people anti-racist or whatever it is. And the conversations is there's this story about this missionary who goes to a rural tribe in Africa, and he goes there and I'm going to preach to the people. And he's like, God loves you. Jesus loves you. And he's just preaching to him out of the Bible. And a guy stands up. He says, we have no water. Don't talk to us about a God that loves us and we have no water. And this missionary closes his Bible and starts to build these wells in Africa. And what I'm noticing is, I can talk about humanity all day, but like, what am I doing for the people in the community to show them that humanity and food is universal? So I started Third Thursdays. This last Thursday's fed over 40 families, and also incorporating local restaurants that might be impacted by COVID and using them as well. And everything that I get through Humanity Power goes back. So it's a social enterprise. 100% of everything goes back into it to support the Third Thursdays. And then the other piece is Humanity the Manatee, to help teach kids about humanity. So there's a stuffy coming out, there's a book coming out, and it's some, I have kids and I've read them the story and they just like love it. And it also gets the parent interacting with their kids and teaching them about just the basics of humanity. So those are two of the things that I'm working on with Humanity Power. The last one is educating on the isms. So this Friday, I'm releasing a Humanity Power kit that talks about the isms, that gives you kind of like some reference of how they started. And there's like a little activity you could do around the isms on your own time. Then I dive into humanity, high vibration, what that looks like, what that means. And then I have a 30-day Humanity Power Challenge, all geared towards lifting your higher vibration. And one of those things on there is limiting social media, because, it definitely, you're intaking so much. And unless you have the proper methods to sort of detox, you are still retaining that energy that's coming in. So this Humanity Power Challenge is really helping raise that vibration. So those are the kind of starting points that I have.
Did you watch Social Dilemma? Not yet. No. You watch? I'm guessing as a the home birth kind of person, you're not a big TV person as well, I'd assume.
Every once in a while.
Social Dilemma talks about how the addiction we have with our social devices, but it's also based off of they interview a bunch of ex-tech CEOs and presidents that have left because they realized what they did was irresponsible and dangerous. So it's very interesting in how they've found a way to perfectly manipulate the human brain. And and again, that detox is so difficult. Like, you look at a water pitcher that has the filter in it. And the way that we are feeding ourselves during this election year, during all the stuff we go through, it's literally like every day we're clogged up. Every morning we wake up with this new thing that's not always like that. Usually as humans, we take a week, a month, a year to build up the same crap that we're getting every single day. So I really, really like that. There was a comment that I'm going to do that one, but I want to talk about this one. And this is kind of what Tammy mentioned this, and this is what you and I talked about a little bit earlier. That we have a lot of people that just don't understand. And actually, say one more time, what is the definition of racism?
Racism is the belief that one ethnicity is inferior or superior to another.
So that's pretty blunt. Like that's a big deal. Like that is a concept of full-blown white supremacy, and that is what racism means. And it's simple. It's simplified. So in this day and age, a lot of people are being called racist, specifically a lot of our people that are watching. This is Tammy. I work in a liquor store, a very diverse area of Indiana. One of my customers, an older black gentleman who I absolutely love, came in the store today looking for me. He hadn't seen me in a while, was just making sure I was okay. He told me that I was his favorite person there because I wasn't racist and love all my customers. Last time I saw him, I was having a problem with a customer who had an attitude. It was a nice change to be told that instead of being called whatever else it continued as. That's all we see. But that's a lot of the times it's like right now in this imperfect world we live in, we're catching a lot of flack just for political opinions or just not certain things we don't post. Certain things, we don't feel the need to get behind because we already feel a certain way or another. And it's daunting. And I think your message is it's really interesting to hear that because it's actually refreshing and it's nice to hear. So it's good. I love this comment. Somebody said, Connie said, first time in such a long time after listening to you. I wish I was not old. There is hope for us. So that's pretty cool.
And you're probably not as old as you think you are.
Exactly. And if you look at her website, if you look at the shop page, she's got all ages on there. The Respect the Rainbow shirt. That is a older vixen. You got to check that out. I'm looking at the website as we speak.
Thank you.
Connie agreed. Very cute models for the shirts. Another home birth mama. But Kelly's kind of a weirdo. So, I'm just kidding. She's awesome. And last question before we go to the next topic. How many people have you had purchase or support Humanity Power thus far? How long has it been going? What stage are we at?
Yeah, so I launched it on, I officially launched Humanity Power on August 17th in honor of my daughter Marley, who we named after Bob Marley, who had that one love message. And Marley, if you guys ever meet her, she is one of the sweetest little humans ever. And so launched it on August 17th. And to date, I will say, I have a good amount of people. I don't know, probably like 80 people in the shirts so far.
Okay.
I would say about 80 people in the shirt so far. I started sharing it with friends and family first and getting them, to wear the shirts. And then the sales on the site are probably, I don't know, $800. No, more than $800. Because I remember my first week, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. So it's been going. Like, people, if you wear the shirt, I post you and you let me share it on social, which is just on Instagram. I share them out and sometimes say a little blurb about the person or just the shirt that they're wearing, or if I know them, I post up about that. But got a few amount, good amount.
They asked that. I actually asked you because I would love to see if we want to. You and I will talk later, but we'll see if we want to do a Humanity Power with the small Be the Change underneath it. Throw it up on our website, and then have that go to your cause or however you want to do that. We can talk about that later. But I think it's awesome. I love the font. I like the concept of the unity. Which, if Kash were here, I think if I could channel his words, he would say, "You're a dope chick. I want you to know that." So that would be my guess of what he would say. But honestly, in the fact that his whole project, the Streetlights Unity Movement, it fits really, really well together. Because all we talk about is unity. At the same time, lately we do talk a lot about politics, but it's trying to find that middle ground. Speaking of politics, we do have one question. It's up to you if you think it's too political of a discussion point. I don't know if you can see the comments on the side. Do you want to answer how you feel about the BLM, Black Lives Matter organization? Up to you.
Yeah. So I'll give you my thoughts. I'm open and honest, and I'm a very vulnerable person. So I speak my truth and live my faith. So that's just it. And I don't mind answering that question. I didn't know much about it, to be honest, until companies started reaching out to me to talk about the right after George Floyd got killed. So I was brought in to talk about this stuff, and then a lot of the comments came up was, we don't want to be a part of a political thing. We don't want to be a part of a political thing. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? I didn't know. I don't watch the news. I should preface that. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched.
So jealous. So jealous.
I haven't watched the news for over 6 years. So I get everything third party. But the Black Lives Matter movement, I didn't know much about. So I started to do some research so I could be able to help answer my clients' questions, because the thing was, they were like, we want to make change, but we don't want it to be political. And I was trying to figure out where the political part came in. And then a friend up the street who is conservative explained to me their thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement. And she basically said that they take their funding and they give it to a specific political party. And I wish I could tell you which one it was, but it didn't. She just brought that information to me. And I was like, okay, now I see where people are associating politics with this movement. So I did a little bit more research, and I don't have a sign in the front of my house. I don't feel the need to say, Black Lives Matter, because I'm Black, and it's really interesting. Again, I teach my kids and I teach the ecosystem that, when you talk about racism, it is not a black and white issue. I understand what is happening in the world. In order to solve this, I do believe it's a humanity issue. I was on a show the other day, and they were asking about what can we do to end police brutality and different things like that. And I was like, okay, it's not the uniform, it's the person. Like, we need to really look at the humanity aspect of the heart. It's a heart problem. And so I don't know too much about the movement. I don't.
You know enough that you explained it in a great way, and
okay.
No, that's perfect, and it's simple. To me, like, we can get into it and be like, they support Act Blue and they do this. And they've raised $1 billion and haven't done anything, which we can say, or we could just say why. Why is this a thing, instead of a full humanity look at everything else and just move on and kind of, I mean, that's the way I summarize what you said. It's like, this is a humanity issue. There are problems. There is no doubt that things need still change and systemic change and systematic change and all these different things. But how is this actually helping a humanity issue? Instead, it could be considered divisive. And like you said, the one way I relate this is, like you said, you don't post it and I don't post it. The way I saw a relation, I don't think I told you this when we talked, is I just gotten done putting on a 17-hour event through Be the Change, where I volunteered my time. I enjoyed it. I got to speak as well as share a bunch of men. It was a real men speak, and it was 27 guys, actually it was 25 guys, a couple women, and it was 90% Black or African American. And I just got done putting this on, and it was all speakers that were speaking to hopefully young Black men and women that gave them empowerment to go be somebody, either financial wellness, anything from motivating them to go change the world, to create their own business, all these different things. And I got done with these 17 hours, and I felt, I was like, and then of course I got on my stupid social media, and somebody was doing something, and they essentially considered my Be the Change fraudulent because I don't put hashtag Black Lives Matter. And they have it all over their social media. And I'm like, cool. What do you actually do? Like, what is your action? Because what is putting the hashtag going to do? I'm like, you're literally calling, and I was called this person down low racist is what I was called, because I refused to put these things. And I'm like, yet I just did something that I feel really good about. And it's like, there's just such a disconnect in the isms, because as you said, what racism is, like, clearly I don't think anybody is more superior at the base level. It just doesn't make sense. And it angers me, and I have thick skin, and just think of how it angers all these different people. So it's just interesting. Like, simplify it. Just be good. Use humanity.
Well, what also I will say is, though, I do, because I'm an anthropologist, like, I'm very curious about both sides. And I have a close friend that is a part of, like, the Black Lives Matter, like, movement. She'll go protest, things like that. And getting to understand her side. Like I see both sides. But very similar, like the friend that I mentioned that was questioning, like, how are you going to do all of this? At the end of our conversation, he said, I understand. This is what you feel like you can do to make change. My friend protesting, that's what she feels that she can do to make change. And the point is, like, wherever you are, the changes definitely need to happen. I don't just go into agreement with whatever people tell me. I question, and I'm curious, and I use a lot of my intuition. And I'll disclose this. My kids are biracial, and I find it really hard to like tell them, this is the side I'm going to talk to you today, and then I'm going to talk to this side. And like, I don't know how to do that. So I don't feel the need to like share that, but I have mad respect for people that feel like that's their platform. That's what they want to do. I have no like ill feelings for it. It's just not something that I've like said or done. And especially with companies now coming out, just throwing it up, hashtag Black Lives Matter, we're going to put up a black square, and you guys have done nothing to create an inclusive workplace culture. You've done nothing around some of the commitments that you're making. I find it even funnier when companies are like, we're recommitting to Black people. You've never committed to them in the beginning. Like, so I just kind of, and I'm very big on words. So yeah. I'm mindful of those things. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And,
No, that's good. God, there was something that made me think of. There's been a couple of really funny comments. All right, this is not a funny one, but a good question because again, it's part of the isms. Mm-hmm. Hear about inclusion for different races and religion, but doesn't hear very much about people with medical issues, people with hearing, speech, missing body parts, deformities, etc. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I don't know when, I don't know the name, I didn't see the name, but I don't know when this person jumped in, but you can clearly see when I go to the humanitypower.co website, I cover the isms. Ableism, what you're talking about is ableism, and I do address that as well. The two that I did, and when I do, sometimes I do a workshop and I talk about ableism and colorism are the two that people aren't very familiar with. And so it's really interesting because ableism does affect a lot of different people. And it is part of the isms, I'm not going to hire this person because you just look a little bit different. Or you have something that makes me uncomfortable, whatever it may be, it's still an ism. And so ableism is I want to get this definition right. Essentially, it's basically treating someone with an ability different than people with like different abilities. You think someone with a different ability is worth more or worth less than someone with a different ability. So ableism is something that Humanity Power does cover. It's something that I am educating on. I even go back to sort of how ableism began. And it's really deep cultural. So if you go to other countries, depending on what country you're in, if you're born with a deformity or something different, they think you're cursed and then they exile you or they treat you different. And that concept of ableism has also triggered our, our survival instinct of like, oh, you're different than me. And that's all the isms. You're different than me. I'm going to keep something doesn't make me feel safe. I need to go where I can see other people that look like me, act like me, that kind of thing. So ableism is a big ism, and it is one that I addressed wholeheartedly because I don't think you can just address racism. Like there's all these other isms that are hurting our humanity. What if we just addressed all of them? And what I'm noticing is if you can solve one ism, you can solve all the isms. So
formula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a repeated formula. Chris has been the one that's asking these questions. So how like from a human perspective or humanity perspective, how would you include them without making them feel like an oddball if they do have a deformity or something like that at the workplace? Because it sounds like he's been a victim of it. He's had trouble not getting work, etc. So if you were the hiring manager, or going back to your consulting firm, how would you put your consulting hat on? What would you suggest?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I do is I look at the structure of the culture. And if the culture needs repair, I go in and do that. And then I focus on the inclusivity. So what inclusivity means is making sure that no matter how you're hiring, everyone has the same opportunity to be interviewed the same way. You're making sure that everyone has access. I heard one time around creating a inclusive environment, and it always stuck with me. And this is this is not now, at that time, I think it was more of an extreme example, but if you can create an environment for a Black transgender female with kids, you can create an environment for anyone. And what does that mean? That means that no matter what you are, no matter what you look like, if your environment and culture is healthy, you're going to be able to receive anyone. And so what I do is I work with clients on building out that process to make sure that they are first aware of any kind of biases they have, and then help them work through that education of bias. So I do a workshop called Understanding Biases for Foundational Inclusion. And I go through the isms, and I go through what it is, what it looks like, where it started. And then I ask the question, is it true? And every workshop that I've had, whether they are putting on for the camera, they all say, no, this is not how, women or men should be treated, or people with different abilities should be treated. So I educate and find out where the company is, and really help them create processes and structure around not just the biases that enter the workplace, but making sure that as you go through your day-to-day, you're able to catch that, educate on that, learn more about that, and not let it spill over into the fact that you might have someone that is highly qualified for the job. Ageism is another big one. Someone that's very highly qualified for the job, but you might have a bias or a certain preset stereotype that is not allowing you to see that this person is really great for the job. And I help companies work through that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Marilyn just asked that, and ageism is one of the ones on there.
Yep.
So go through them all again. What were they?
Ageism, sexism, classism, ableism, colorism, racism.
6?
Yep.
Okay.
6.
Got it. I do have to apologize, Chris. I did not see that there's no H there, and I can't see her picture. Chris is a female, and I refer to her as a he. So okay. Sorry, that was my bad. Let's see. Chris is getting very. I feel like because Chris actually earlier she asked if you had an email or a contact. So I feel like you guys might want to connect. Is there a best connection method? I'm on your website right now. Is there a good way to connect? Contact?
Yeah, you could either. So I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. If you're interested in contacting me there, it's just my first name and last name, or you can go to Humanity Power Co. and email me that way. So either one, but it's Chris, I have a lot of content around ableism and really addressing or ageism and addressing these isms very, very slowly. And one of the things, and I don't want to drop it just yet, but I have this amazing activity project that brings awareness to those isms. I wasn't able to get colorism in there, but it's an amazing project. And this is how we're going to bring awareness to some of these isms that might not be as well known or might not have enough resources within the workplace to help combat them, based off of a person's situation.
Love it. So we're about to wrap, but I want one more time talk about the 30 Days Humanity Power Challenge. We've covered everything that we wanted to cover, and we've had great questions as well. But yeah, talk more about that and how people, if they want to get involved in that, what the next steps are.
Yes. So the 30-day Humanity Power Challenge is about raising your vibration to help end the isms. So again, I mentioned that that the isms are a low vibrational frequency, and the way that we solve that is using the high vibration of our humanity. So I'm putting together and releasing this Friday, the 25th, a Humanity Power kit that within that kit, we'll talk about humanity power. We'll talk about the isms. It will also give you an activity, and then it goes through how to really identify that high vibration humanity and then take the challenge. So it's 30 days of high vibrational activity that anyone can do, and it's very inclusive. So I didn't include things like, give, the largest tip you can give, or, go donate to this. it's very inclusive, and every act is to help you raise your vibration so you can know what that's like. You might encounter someone and your day is use compassion. All right, you got to show up with compassion. And that is that high vibration that we need to help in the isms. And so go to the website, and right now all I have is a subscribe. So if you subscribe and put your email in, I will send you that kit on the 25th. If you come to the website after the 25th, you will be able to download the kit on your own. So those are the ways that you can get involved with the Humanity Power Challenge. And then also follow me on Instagram. I'll be talking more about the challenge, posting up each day what the challenge is. So in case you can't download, you're able to look at it on Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
Humanity Power Co.
Humanity Power Co. Got it. I just added that to your. There you go. That's on your title. How about that? Let's see. Any final comments? Stu was curious. Why could you not get colorism in? Was it just a time thing, or was it beforehand, or why could you not get colorism in that group?
So in the activity, I don't want to give the activity away. It's like super awesome, but just look at the kit and I'll explain it. I have a little piece of blurb about it, why I wasn't able to get colorism in the actual activity that you would do around the isms. But that doesn't mean it's not as important. It's just I'll explain it in the kit. So just if you can hold tight, it will be explained there. It will make a lot of sense once I do share it.
Connie said, let's add politicalism, which technically you just call that assholism. I think there's a lot of general terms you can use. Some situation. Let's see. Is there anything else? Anything else you want to leave with them? I think we're good on questions. Is there any final thoughts that you want to add in?
Yeah. When I created this, I recognized that we need to bring healing to our humanity. I mean, there's encouragement, love, light, like those are things that I will never say no to. And I know that they are universal and I've seen them change hearts. And again, this is not a hard problem. It's a heart problem. And if this message resonates with you, I could use all the humans that are on board for Humanity Power to join in, because this is how we're going to create the change that we need to see in the world. I think about my kids and, looking at what they are going to experience in life. And it would be a lot easier if those isms were just not as popular, and if we could end them. And I believe we can. I don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime. I don't know if it's going to be in their lifetime. That's not the point. This is a vision. And where there is a vision, the people thrive. And so I just want to encourage you to check out Humanity Power. Reach out to me if you liked what I said. And I just send you guys all light, love, and gratitude. And thank you for sharing this space with me this evening.
Thank you. All right, Charisse, before I let you go, I want you to know that you are an absolute rock star. Like, we had Daryl Davis as our first episode, and Kevin was great. And you and Kevin are in very similar points in your journey where you're just getting things moving. And Daryl is not at the end. He's still working hard on everything that he does. But your messaging is that young. You have a young sense of Daryl Davis, which is literally finding a way to break down hate and hate down, and you can call it the isms. You have a tone and a light that has the ability on a small scale. And the question was asked to you, but what now? And how are you going to do it? And you're doing it, and it's going to take time. And I hope that we can help foster it together and grow it together. And I'm very blessed to have been able to meet you on that phone call, because I think you are an absolutely amazing human that looks at everybody the way that they should be looked at, as balls of clay that already have great features and also can be changed at the same time. Madeline said she did spell your name wrong, but that's totally fine.
No,
I love it. It's, autocorrect, probably with the fingers. I love listening to you, and you have made a huge impact on me, and that's all we can ask, is that ripple effect. And I think that you have a fantastic ripple effect. So I'm sure we're going to talk more. I thank you for being on the show. Don't go anywhere as I close it up. I'll meet you backstage, which is a virtual backstage. I'm not actually behind your wall right now. That would be super creepy. But again, thank you so much, Charisse. It was truly a pleasure. And humanitypower.co, if you want to learn more about it, buy some t-shirts, etc. It's cool stuff. Unity with the humanity. And we'll talk also about possibly getting some on our website to help you out as well. So thank you, Charisse. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem. All right, guys. Again, this is the whole purpose of Changemakers, is finding guests like that. And I'm glad you guys loved it. And it's interesting when you hear the avoid the isms, we immediately, because we've become defensive as humans and as Americans. We become defensive. If you have a different thought, you're going to automatically think I'm terrible. And I don't like where we've come. That's not the way we are as people. We still need to have that heart of humanity and that heart of giving, heart of kindness, heart of love. And there's an element that Charisse brings to the table that is this perfect fit of change and the ability to create change. And no matter what stage she's at, it's already at the point where her light's going to shine. It's going to be whoever can foster it. And I'm honored to have her on this, and hopefully she continues to be on bigger and bigger and bigger things. And definitely tag Kash in this, because he definitely missed a good one. And I know that he had another thing going on, but when he heard like isms, I'll try to make it. She's probably not my kind of person. But I think that, and I honestly wasn't sure her full topic. I've seen a few of the things that she's posted online, but I think she's perfect for the concept of the ripple effect and creating change and why we actually do have hope in this society, and humanity is it. So guys, thank you so much for joining. Again, would love any support. If you want to support us on patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA. We've already had a couple of those people. In the next week, once I get back to Dallas, I will be finally doing some of the Patreon higher level subscribers, do that group message. And yes, Nicole, I won't forget that you're involved in that. And if you guys want to see, this is the new studio home of Be The Change. I just got this big rig. It's 1.5 bath, and it's a Class A RV. So I'm going to be changing the game a little bit and going a little bit more mobile, maybe get Kash in here, Angry Viking, and we do some tours across the country and be kind of like a Bible thumping group, but without, I mean, with Bible, yes, but message, positivity, love. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for being a part of Changemakers. And Charisse, thank you again. And till next time, we will see you. Thanks for watching.